don't know how this is going to affect crypto or broader market, but there is this government funding bill or disaster recovery bill. I don't know how you want to call it. There's this like 1,000-page bill that's spreading around, and Vivek and Elon is opposed, and you know what? Trump is opposed to this too. And this may cause a government shutdown in the US once again. So there's just like a lot of things stuffed in this bill. It's, you know, there's a lot of money going for disaster recovery, but there's a lot of money that's going into, you know, some government funding, but there's also a lot of money going in there for pay raises for Congress members. You know, there's just a lot of stuff stuffed in there. You know, this is part of what the Doge government Department of Government Efficiency, why Trump appointed Elon and Vivek to head, is to stop this kind of stuff, right? Why Congress, their budget keeps ballooning is because they just like stuff stuff in there, including pay raises for next year into this bill. And they were hoping that no one sees it and everyone just gets a huge pay raise, right? So now they're trying to stop this, and you know, there may be even Polymarket, you know, saying there may be a 54% chance of a government shutdown now. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what this is going to do. Last few times we had government shutdown, you know, markets didn't react well, but then it was like quickly resolved. You know, this is another thing that may be coming up. I don't know how serious it is, but you know, like this kind of stuff needs to be stopped, right? Like in the US, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the US, it's like this is why people hate politics, people hate politicians and say everyone's corrupt, because, you know, a simple bill gets stuffed with all this extra stuff, and usually no one pays attention, and they just get like pushed through and voted upon, and then you got all this extra stuff and all this excess baggage, and you know, and that's how like things get like inflated, and that's why the budget is always over, and that's why we have to always overspend, overprint, and that's why we have endless inflation, and that's why we have Fed Chair Powell doing what he does, applying monetary policy, trying to curb inflation. Right? It's just the endless cycle. How about we just stop spending so much? Right? Let's just try stop spending so much for a change, instead of just spending irresponsibly and finding ways to make up for it later, right? Let's just actually balance the books instead as a government, but this doesn't seem like we ever do that. We have a ton of big purchases, okay? Now everyone is following Saylor's plan, especially the miners. HUT8, a big miner, just purchased $100 million worth of Bitcoin. 100 million. That's not chump change. They purchased it today. At least they announced it today. 990 Bitcoin at an average price of $101,000. Okay, so they're still up, considering Bitcoin's at 102, right? So $100 million. Like I said, these guys are not going to stop. Retail investors, the ones that panic sell, the ones that get worried about Bitcoin dipping to levels unseen since 5 days ago, they're just going to sell to these guys that they're just buying hundreds of millions or billions at a time. Right? The retail investors that may hold just a few, they're giving up their life-changing wealth to these guys. What's the point of that? You got to save it for yourself. These guys have endless money to buy. Mara just raised $1.9 billion and purchased $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin at $98,000. That's a really good buy. Really good buy. So now they hold 44,394 Bitcoin. Again, they didn't even buy 100 million. They bought $1.53 billion worth of Bitcoin, right? So again, while retail investors, or some, not all, a lot of you guys, you're not panicking. You're DCAing all the way. While some are worried about a little dip, others are not. They continue to buy and buy and buy. Even with yesterday's little dip, right, the ETF inflow was still positive. Do you notice since November to December, we haven't had a single negative outflow day? Every single day has been in the hundreds of millions of inflow. Even yesterday, you would figure we would have a negative outflow day, right? When everything was collapsing. No, that's not what we had. We had a 275 million day. Right? So it's like every single day, these guys are buying hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, right? So bottom line is this: don't be panicking. We will get volatility. There's no doubt about it. We'll probably get more volatility as we move forward. There will always be volatility, okay? But we are going to head a lot higher. That's the thing, right? We will always have volatility. And I think we're having some volatility right now. A little bit. We're down to 101, right? A little bit. But you know what? With these guys that are purchasing this much, the supply shock is in effect, and we are going to go a lot higher. This is no time to be panicking. Not one bit. Okay? In the past, we have seen shakeouts like this before when we have rate cuts. Right? Like sometimes we just get, like I said, these FOMC meetings, Wall Street tends to like exaggerate. A lot of times when Wall Street like hears Powell speaks, they just get fearful, right? Because Wall Street is supposed to be they're supposed to forecast the future. So they try to read in between the lines very hard. And then they become really reactionary to every little thing he says. So they're trying to digest what he said. They're trying to predict the future. And then a lot of times they just like, they don't know what to do and they just sell off everything. That's what they do. And then they realize, okay, maybe that was the wrong move. So, and then they rebuy back. That's what their playbook is. That's how it is, always.